Was Mike right all along? I've been training high intensity for about 18 months now, and aside from some warm-up sets and a couple exercises that I was just learning during the time and experimenting with, every single working set I've taken to failure and beyond. Now, I've already talked at length about my experience and the sort of gains and changes I saw during that time, so today I wanted to focus on some actual training and programming lessons I learned. I hope this might be a little bit more applicable to you, dear viewer, because I think many of these are lessons that can be applied to any effective training plan, not just a high intensity one. And though I'm making a lot of videos about high intensity training right now, I don't want to be dogmatic about it. I think there's a lot of value and insights in this type of training, but I know it's not the only type of training that works. I know some of you watching are doing different styles of plans and you're probably getting good results on them. I think that if we as the fitness community can start looking at different sort of training styles less dogmatically and more with just a critical eye, trying to take what stuff works from it and figure out what doesn't work, then we can actually get good, applicable information out there for all of us to use. So some of these lessons were quite surprising to me, and I didn't really believe that they would be as valuable as they were until I actually tried them. So first of all, and least unexpectedly, is the whole intensity thing. High intensity, it's in the damn name, right? Obviously, this is the real foundation of the training method. But before this style of training, I was a bit afraid of going to failure. I thought that's what was causing all of my overuse injuries. Nowadays, I'm definitely a believer that a small amount of work actually to or even beyond failure is great for stimulating strength and size gains. And even if you don't want to train at that high of an intensity most of the time, a period of revisiting what it really feels like to give a set your absolute all is good to calibrate your perceived effort for whatever sort of training you are doing. I think I have a video on this, so I'll link that one as well. I don't have too much more to say about intensity. It's obvious and it's the most important thing of the training style. So now we're going to focus on more of the unsung heroes of the method, the bits that I did not expect to be as valuable as they were to me. First off is using tempo effectively, specifically a tempo that avoids momentum. Personally, I don't keep rigorous track of the tempo that I do on exercises. I don't count for a certain number of seconds or use a metronome to synchronize my reps. I really just try to make sure that I actively feel the muscle contraction and that the movement is always being driven by the muscles and not by momentum from an easier part of the range of motion. So of course, high intensity training is not the only style of training that uses tempo as a training variable. I remember reading about this in Overcoming Gravity back in the day, learning about tempo notation. However, when I had read about this and tried various styles of non-explosive concentrics in my training, it never really clicked for me. If a rep took me 2 seconds to go up, then I'd just be able to do less reps or use less weight. But with weighted movements, it just kind of seemed pointless. Why not just use more weight and go a bit faster rather than adding an extra constraint and a focal point that you need to focus on? I found that fixating on my tempo or even using a metronome would both just distract me from actually trying hard, and at the end of the day, trying hard is what's most important. That's what makes it all work. Why would I want to go slow but then also leave reps in reserve? So it was only when combining tempo with high intensity training and pushing to absolute failure and beyond with drop sets that it really clicked with me. The controlled tempo ensures that your muscles are working through the whole range of motion, but by pushing to failure, you ensure that you're also not leaving extra energy or capacity untested. Especially on low rep sets, it's pretty easy to fail halfway through a rep, having used a bit of momentum and not really be pumped or tired or stimulated at all because there was so little time of actually putting force into the movement. And anecdotally, for me personally, I think this is one of the aspects that has helped to heal my elbows and shoulders with this style of training. A slightly more controlled tempo seems to be putting less stress on the joints, and I'm not arriving at ranges of motion suddenly where I just don't have the strength to support them. I do think that not counting tempo at all while you're training can be a risk. In watching back some of my more recent pull-up videos, I can definitely see that my first few reps I'm going a little bit too fast on the concentric, and that it's only when I'm properly fatigued on the later reps that it slows down. So this is something for me to work on and for y'all to help me keep honest on. The second unexpected lesson from high intensity training is prioritizing recovery. This had me very skeptical before I started trying it out. Really, training once or twice a week and then resting 3 to 5 days after, that's so contrary to what everyone else in the fitness place is saying. But when you're skeptical of something, you gotta put it to the test. If you just assume that it's wrong and never try it, you're not gonna learn very much. But I soon realized that within a month of training HIIT, I had significantly more energy for my daily life and my daily routine than ever before. As I mentioned in my previous video, I also recovered from 2 joint injuries, and I had the healthiest year of my life in terms of not getting sick at all. And I think those were largely due to better recovery. Ultimately, weightlifting is an acute stressor. In the long term, it builds tolerance to handle stress, but it is an acute stressor. And if you're not careful, I find it very easy to overdo the training and undercook the recovery. I really estimated just how long it took me to recover. At the beginning of my HIIT journey, I would train on Monday, then Friday, and then the following Wednesday. So that would be 3 rest days, then 4 rest days, then 4, and then 3 again. So I was doing 3 workouts in every 2 weeks. That's a lot of rest. And I was a 32-year-old male in pretty decent health at the time. So if you're sitting there thinking, mate, I can train 6 days a week and recover perfectly fine, well, you're probably right. If you think you're recovering well and you aren't getting sick or injured, you probably are recovering well. So keep it up. Take advantage of your gift of great recovery. But the ability to recover and to adapt to training seems to vary greatly among individuals, even past what can be accounted for just by your daily habits like sleep, nutrition, and other lifestyle factors, although those are, of course, very, very important. After about 6 months of training, I was able to up the frequency to twice a week, and I've been sticking there ever since. Perhaps in the future, as I get stronger, I'll need to subsequently take more rest, like Mike says, but for now, I'm not that strong, and the weights I'm lifting are not actually that heavy at all, so this works pretty well for me. Well, those are feeling off for at least the last 2.5 weeks after coming back from holidays, but this session, wow. Yeah, we're getting back into it. We're building strength, lads. Now, about 18 months in, so after a year of training twice per week, I've changed my split a little bit to a 3-day-a-week split. I'm doing 2 upper sessions and 1 lower session. Each workout is a tiny bit shorter than when I was doing 2 a week, but there are 4 more total sets per week, and I'm definitely finding this a bit more fatiguing. So we'll see how I get on with this for several months, but I'm definitely going to take my recovery seriously. Final unexpected lesson I had from high-intensity training was the use of higher rep ranges. Honestly, this is the first time in my training that I've ever done more than like 8 reps in a set. I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that because it seems so obvious in hindsight now, but I fell for this powerlifting meme that strength was from 1 to 5 reps, and that was it. Sure, you could do 12 to 15 reps on an accessory movement, but that was just for accessory movements. On compound exercises, no way, 1 to 5 reps. And so I kept to that for a couple of years in my training, and to be fair, I did get a lot stronger than where I started, but I only really got past the beginner stage in my pulling exercises. My pushing remained very, very weak. And as I mentioned several times now, I just kept getting overuse injuries, and it was pretty shit. Enter high intensity training, where I'm aiming for 7 to 10 slightly slower repetitions as the goal for most of my exercises. This is already a significantly longer set than I was used to. But of course, since I'm training to failure, many of the sessions I'd get 12 or 13 or even more reps before failing. Throughout the year, I also experimented with 10 to 15 rep range sets, and some even pushing 15 to 20 reps. And by golly, it was really effective. Not only did I build more muscle than ever before, which is probably no surprise for you bodybuilders out there who are no stranger to high rep sets, but I also got stronger in everything, literally everything. Though I never did a single set of pull-ups for less than 7 full reps in the entire year, I tested my 3 rep max recently, and I hit a lifetime PB of 44 kilograms added, which is 4 more than my 1 rep max 6 years before, right before I got golfer's elbow and had to stop training pull-ups seriously for 4 years. I also weigh about 9 kilos more than 6 years ago, so it's a lot more weight lifted. So high rep work does translate directly to low rep work. And I saw regularly that when I would improve my 15 rep max in one exercise, it would increase my 10 rep max, and my 6 rep max, and my 3 rep max. Perhaps not efficiently as more low rep work, but if the time spent working in higher rep ranges allows your body to heal, recover, and grow more muscle over a longer period of time, then it kind of makes up for not being quite as specific. That said, I do sometimes miss doing lower rep sets. It does feel great to be picking up some legitimately heavy weights once in a while. I think these high rep sets make a lot of sense for me sort of philosophically, and I imagine they might to you as well. My goal with training is never really to peak in a short amount of time for a short-term performance. I don't compete in any of the sports that I do. While it might be fun to post videos of heavy single lifts that actually look somewhat impressive instead of my moderate weight 10 rep sets to failure, it just wouldn't be honest to you folks. I don't actually train that way, and what I want to showcase on this channel is the normal, boring work that I actually do in order to get better. You've already seen enough perfect form RPE 0 exercise tutorials, and you've probably already seen enough highly peaked 1 rep max tests. And both of those have their place, absolutely, but I do think they present a skewed vision of what training is actually like. It's not done at one of these extremes, it's everything in the middle. It's neither max performance or perfect form, but actual training is everything in between those two extremes. So that's what I actually do on a day-to-day basis, and that's what I'm going to continue posting because that's real, it's not staged. So my goal in fitness is to become strong for life, meaning that I want to build general strength, muscularity, and fitness that translate to my daily life activities and to continue to be able to move with power and quality for as long as possible. So I'm not interested in peaking in the short term, just the slow and steady work that yields durable gains over the long term. If those types of goals and philosophies kind of speaks to you, you might be interested in having a consult or one-on-one coaching with me. If you just want to learn more about high intensity training, I have a free program out called the 2-Hour Body, which you can download in the link in the description. Thanks so much for watching, folks. You guys have a great day, and let's get strong for life together.